This is the Real Change Wilmington podcast, episode 8, Inside the Clinton County Homeless Shelter, with our guests today, Denise Stryker and Sydney Murtland.
We have a family member who was in an argument with their family. They think this is, end of the world, they have no place to go, they need to come into the homeless shelter. Well, let's take a step back. Let's do, an assessment here. Is the situation really that bad? Can you stay with a friend? Is there another family member? Or need somewhere to just go for one night? Or so really it's really situational, and it's really just assessing that and making sure that, they're not catastrophizing, or we can do something more than putting them in a literal homeless situation.
What's going on, everybody? This is the host of the Real Change Wilmington podcast, Dustin Pierce.
And I'm the co-host, Emily Spencer.
And we have a great episode for you guys today, just getting inside the homeless shelter and seeing all the things that they do there if you don't know. So before we jump into today's episode, we're just going to catch you guys up to speed on some things that have been going on at Real Change Wilmington. Last week, we had the C4 Awards. And if you don't know what that is, it's the Clinton County, fill in the blanks.
Clinton County, why can't it's...
Clinton County Really Good People Awards.
Guess he's going to listen to this and come to make sure.
There's a lot of C's in this award, but anyways.
It's just to highlight the great citizens in our community, in all their categories.
Yeah, and our own Emily Spencer nominated our own Dustin Pierce for an award, but I did not win in the business category. Some good people did win, though. Also, in the community category, our friend Lee Sandlin won an award, which is pretty cool. And he even mentioned real change in his speech. And Emily leaned over to me and told me to contact our attorney. And I said, if he ends this speech with "Keep it real, Wilmington," I'm going to sue him for everything he's got.
But he didn't. So you're safe this time.
You're safe this time. Unfortunately, we're not shutting you down yet. To some people's dismay, I guess.
Just kidding, of course.
Yeah, just kidding. But anyways, it was cool. So we got to talk to one of the council members yesterday. Yeah, at Cava House. And apparently after our podcast with Pat Haley, him and Pat connected over some things. That was pretty cool, just to see how the podcast is connecting people together and getting conversations started. So,
it's also kind of cool that we're getting nicknames.
It is. So Emily is known as the podcast girl online, and together we are
the Notorious Two.
The Notorious Two. So it might change the name of the podcast, the Notorious Two. But yeah, that's fun. So let's go over some highlights for today's episode. Emily, what are some things that stood out for you?
So for those of you who don't know, the Clinton County Homeless Shelter and Homeless Services Commission, they were founded in 1988. And what I found interesting about that was the story that Denise tells about how they became, together a community. Mm-hmm. That a woman whose husband went to prison and she was really down on her luck. She went to a council meeting and said, "I need help." And the community really banded together to help her. And I think that's great. And Denise has been their director there since 1994. So she's coming up on 30 years next March. So congratulations, Denise.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something that stood out to me is the work that they do upstream of the homelessness issue. So before someone becomes homeless, Sydney works with them to do like a intervention kind of thing. So people can call in and say, "Hey, I have this issue," whether it's like an issue with bills they have to pay or mental illness or addiction. Sydney tries to work with them and connect them with those resources that they may not know of before they become homeless. So I like how they're doing that work as well. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they really do talk a lot about how it's a person-by-person, case-by-case basis. Everybody's different. Everybody comes to them with different issues. And before they admit somebody into their shelter, they really try to figure it out to see if this is really what they are needing.
Yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and bring in our guests today, Denise Stryker and Sydney Murtland. So Denise and Sydney, welcome to the Real Change Wilmington podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd like to start things off by just doing introductions. So Denise, we'll start with you. Just tell us who you are and what led you to be the director of the homeless shelter.
Well, thank you for inviting us here today. My name's Denise Stryker, and I am the executive director there at the Clinton County Homeless Shelter since March of '94. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I was on vacation with an aunt and my mom and my sister, and we were down in the Marina Del Rey area in California. And there were quite a few people that were experiencing homeless in that area. I remember just thinking of, just saying a little prayer, Lord, if you can show me how I can help someone in this situation. And I, in small ways, taking some coffee to folks while I was there for the week, was not a good enough way to help people. And I really came home and started praying for God to show me how can I help, show me how to help. And that was in September of 93. And then in March of 94, my aunt called and said, hey, they're looking for a director there at the homeless shelter. And why don't you apply? Everyone knew I was looking for a job. My daughter was an older teenager and didn't need me at home as much. And
what were you doing at the time for a career?
I was a stay-at-home mom and helping with the landscaping company, with the business end of the landscaping company.
Okay.
So I put my application in and interviewed with the board of directors and got the job. And it's been a real blessing. That's a short version of how that happened.
What was the situation with the old director? Did they phase out, or what happened there? And
I can't remember exactly what happened with the director before me, to be honest. I believe she went on to another job.
Okay.
But I know there were 7 directors
before you.
Before me.
Okay.
It was more of a part-time job
mm-hmm.
at the time, and we relied heavily on volunteers, and so there were a lot of responsibilities. And
so 7 directors. So the homeless shelter's been around for a while then.
Yeah, since 1988.
Okay. Do you know the story of how it got started?
Yes, the mayor's office actually were very involved. Linda Eichelberger was the mayor's assistant in Wilmington here, and there was a family a single mom who came up to when council was meeting during council chambers, and her husband had went to prison, and she had 4 children with her, and the car had broke down. They were coming back from, I believe, Sabina. She had nowhere to go. And there were a lot of council members that said, hey, we need to do something about this. And the mayor's office worked with our local Wilmington Area Ministerial Association and many of our local churches who, with Linda's help, and the mayor of Wilmington, they were able to secure a grant to purchase the house there on Gallup Street.
Mm-hmm.
And many people came together. It was a whole community, many of public officials, many churches, and many organizations that did a lot of volunteer work to get the house ready for people to move in. And I wasn't there or involved at the time. That's just what I was told over the years.
It's a big history for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Sydney, tell us about yourself. I understand that you graduated from Wilmington High School, went to Wilmington College, and is this your first job out of college, or what's your career like, and how did you end up at the homeless shelter?
Yeah, so my last semester of my senior year at Wilmington College, I interned for Sugar Tree Ministries for the whole semester, and then I graduated, realized, nonprofit work was kind of where I wanted to lean into, and I initially was going to pursue something in business, and I think one of my professors really pushed me towards this nonprofit direction and kind of was an eye-opening moment for me down at Sugar Tree. So when I heard about this position, I immediately jumped on it, and a few months later, here I am.
So what did you do at Sugar Tree?
I was kind of an administrative assistant to Lee. Whenever he needed done paperwork, he's not a fan of paperwork. So I would do paperwork. I'd help make meals if they needed me to, cleaning, help organize yard sales, other events that they needed, kind of just a catch-all.
Okay. And what is your role at the homeless shelter, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the new access point coordinator. I will do the initial inquiries with people. So if someone's calling in, needing shelter, I will speak with them, kind of assess the situation, and then move forward with the information I gather.
Move forward to
entering them into the shelter, or possibly trying to do diversion with them. So I'll give you an easy example. We have a family member who is in an argument with their family. They think this is, end of the world. They have no place to go. They need to come into the homeless shelter. Well, let's take a step back. Let's do, an assessment here. Is the situation really that bad? Can you stay with a friend? Is there another family member, or need somewhere to just go for one night? Or so really it's really situational, and it's really just assessing that and making sure that, they're not catastrophizing, or we can do something more than putting them in a literal homeless situation.
Nice. And you are the access point coordinator for the whole county?
I mean, technically, yes, because Clinton County Homeless Shelter is the access point for Clinton County. So everyone would come to the homeless shelter, they would call the homeless shelter, and then I can refer them to Sugar Tree, Hope House, or, another county. So, yeah.
So you have more resources than just putting people in your homeless shelter. You can reach out to other shelters and connect people to those as well.
Right. So we're a part of Region 16, which is 5 counties, which is Clinton County, Highland County, Fayette County, Pickaway, and Ross. And then I can reach out to them. We have a system where I can input information and send a referral to this county. Amber's really on that right now. I have not started my online data entering yet, but I am working towards it.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's get into some of the services that you guys provide. Emily and I got to tour your facility yesterday, so thank you for that. It's very nice, very clean. So I never been in the facility before. I assumed it was just the one building, but you guys kind of like a complex there, like 4 different buildings for administration, and then you have women and family, and then men's, and then donation center. So a lot of things you guys do. So can you, Denise, maybe just break down what the main categories are, then we'll dive into each one. And
Sure. We have a original house that opened is the Maturka Family House, and that provides shelter for men, women, and children. We're able to provide for 2-parent families, adult couples without children, and single parents, and unaccompanied women that are there just as an individual. So we can provide for all households in that house. And house at 30 Gallup, immediately adjacent to that, is an all-men's shelter, and we can house up to 16 men in that house. Then on Main Street, we have the office, which is called the Darlene Myers House. Darlene was one of our original board members, and that office was named after Darlene when we opened back in 2012. Then we also, adjacent to that house, is our donation center at 382 West Main, where we have clothing and food, a food pantry, and household items and furniture in a shed located outside of the house.
Nice. I saw you guys got a new sign out front, a digital sign.
Yes.
Is that a new thing?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We actually started working on that about a year ago. We had an unexpected donation that we, in the board and the anonymous committee, met to decide how we wanted to spend some of the funds. And we think that letting the community know how much we appreciate all the support, and often we'll be excited to be able to share the things that we need or share about our fundraisers on the signage. And we're really excited to see. Sydney got that up and going last week, and we're really excited to be able to have that sign. We used to go out, the old sign we had aged quite a bit, and we went out with our letters, and they wouldn't stay, so we'd find all kinds of creative ways to get the letters to stay, and we'd be sliding down the hill, if there was ice. And so we were really in need of a new sign, and we're grateful for the donation to be able to do it.
That's awesome. I think it's cool that you can communicate what you do in the building with that sign out front. That's pretty nice.
Oh, definitely. Yes. It was very, very exciting to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think also for the coalition meetings, we've been trying to increase community engagement in the coalition. So having that information readily available,
yes,
I think will be a lot better than what we had.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we should make a note to talk about the coalition too. But let's talk about, so Sydney, your office is in the same building as the food pantry, right?
Yes.
Can you explain to us what the food pantry food and clothing, how that works?
Yeah, anytime between 10 and noon, Monday through Sunday, people can come in off the street, get a shower, do their laundry, take dishes or anything that they might need household-wise, come in and get food, clothing, do laundry possibly if they had to. But it makes my job a little bit easier being able to be in there and getting to engage with the people who are coming off the street and being able to talk with them, get to know them a little better, and see if there's any other services we could provide to them that would help them out with their situation.
So you get people who come in who necessarily aren't homeless, but need to use the laundry room, need to shower, or need some clothes or food, right?
Right. So it could just be low-income families who need that little extra help so they can come in and get food. Or during Christmas and Thanksgiving, we'll pass out the meals, turkeys, hams. So yeah, it really helps more than just the off-the-street homeless. It helps low-income families as well.
Very nice. So with the food pantry, do you guys offer a soup kitchen as well, like prepared meals for people maybe who are lower income or homeless?
No, we don't, but we do have like coffee, be able to make some coffee for folks. We don't provide meals right now. We've thought about doing that. If we had enough volunteers, that might be something in the future, just to be able to have some hot soup ready. That's kind of been on our radar for a while, but we just have not started that yet.
There's probably a lot of other organizations in the community that offer meals. Obviously, the Sugar Tree and a lot of the churches do that as well.
Yes. Now, one of our soup fundraisers, if you don't mind me jumping in here, every spring and fall, I'm going to put a plug in for our spring soup fundraiser. And it is St. Patrick's Day on a Friday. It will be in the Robert Moyer Room at the Wilmington Municipal Building from 11 to 1. So we'd really like for folks to try to come out and join us for some hot soup. We have some amazing volunteers who prepare the soup. We have chili and vegetable, chicken noodle, and potato soup. And it's all homemade. And we usually have some awesome volunteers that will come and help serve it. And we ask for donations. And it really, one of our bigger fundraisers of the year. So
Yeah, we'll add that to our website for sure.
thank you.
So another thing, Sydney, that you mentioned yesterday, we asked about the shelter, and you said people can stay one night up to 90 days. Is there like a restraint reason for that, or what's the cap for?
We allow the 90-day stay. To be completely honest, I'm not sure if that's something that we absolutely have to do.
It's something that we are encouraged to do as part of the emergency shelter grant. However, with COVID and some of the difficulties and challenges of finding affordable housing, that is often extended, most often, especially with our families with children that have the added challenges of finding daycare. Sometimes it's a month before they can actually get to work by the time they find daycare and find employment. So many times we see our single parents or two parent families that are there much longer, sometimes up to 6 months or longer. So each household is individual case, and we do often extend that 90-day stay.
Okay. And we're going to get into some of the other things like rapid rehousing and how you actually help people get into housing. But before we get too far into things, what are some of the rules that you have for people who stay at the homeless shelter?
Okay, that's a good question. We do have quite a few rules. One of the rules is it's 5:30 a.m. wake up call. So except for the children, all of the adults, we do go around and make sure everyone's up at 5:30. And then everybody is assigned a chore.
What's the reason for the 5:30 wake up?
Well, we like for everyone to be up and moving and out the door looking for a job or looking for housing and doing whatever is included on their individualized service plan by 7 a.m.
That's good.
So usually it does take a while for folks to get up and get breakfast and get awake. And
so you're intentional about the time people are there, which sounds good.
Yes, we do have a structured schedule. Now, our folks with small children, or if they have not been able to line up childcare, we're a little more flexible, but the wake up time and those household duties are still a daily occurrence that we stick with, just to try to help people get on a schedule and it helps the kids too. We see a lot of the kids that kind of like that structure and the wake up times and bedtimes and everything that's on a structured schedule. We've had people come back that say that really helped me develop a good habit. So we stick with that. Now there are some cases where we have many people who might work nights, who work second shift. So of course we are flexible. And if somebody, like we had a gentleman who came in at 1 o'clock this morning who had worked a second shift job. So we did not ask him to get up. Well, actually I did almost wake him up, and then someone reminded me that he had worked.
So what other rules do you have? You said you have some chores too, right? People have.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody's assigned a chore. It could be doing the evening dishes or helping with preparation of a meal, taking the trash out, or cleaning the bathroom, or doing the family room area and cleaning it. Each person is responsible for their own bedroom area to make sure that everything's picked up, the bed's made every day. And then on top of that, they are assigned a household duty to help make sure everything's clean.
Yeah. I was surprised how clean it looked when I walked through it. It was like a hotel in there.
Oh,
like an Airbnb or something. It was really nice.
Thank you. Folks really do work hard, and the staff help when they can and when it's needed. We have some great, what we call house managers, who are folks who have lived there for a little while, and they kind of encourage others to help pitch in and get the chores done. And then they go up, we have a couple of folks who just go over and above and do more than we would ever expect for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to see people work together and help one another when it's needed.
Yeah.
And are there consequences for people who don't do their chores or refuse or,
We do.
Sorry, gotta ask the hard questions.
Standing in the corner.
It is difficult. And those are hard questions because we recognize that when you're in a situation, when you're in a crisis, and there's so many different circumstances that could be a part of the crisis, but that some of our roles aren't always a priority for some folks. Rather, it's a health reason that they're struggling to be able to do chores or to wake up. It might be medications that the doctor has asked them to take in the evening that's keeping someone from being able to get up at that time. And that is part of the individualized service plan. So each person that Jenny and Darlene and Cindy's beginning to meet with folks has a separate plan that may not look like the person in the next room to them because they might have different needs. But we do often, if we don't have a reason and it's just someone struggling, we sit during the ISP, the individualized service plan, and talk about maybe ways that we can help make the change. Can we be a little more flexible until that medication's evened out, or what can we do to help? And that's the reason that we spend a minimal of a half hour a week, and often it's more than that for folks that are really struggling, to sit down and really have that one-on-one, face-to-face conversation.
So kind of the follow-up is, are there circumstances that you have to turn people away? And as access board coordinators at your job, Sydney?
Yes, I've had a few instances where I've had to turn people away from our shelter, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't able to help them get into another shelter, or even just going to a drop-in shelter. I know it's a one-night stay, but I mean, it's a bed and it's a warm place to sleep for that night, and they can call back the next day, check with us again, see if we have anything available. But if not, I can always refer them out of county and get them somewhere to stay at least for that night, or we can work with them. I mean, I think I've had instances where I've worked with one person for several months, bouncing them around from different places. I mean, at least getting them somewhere to stay.
So besides being full, are there other reasons that you turn people away?
Yes. So violent crimes we have to look at and be very careful with. Sex offenders we can't allow a sex offender. We do have, children and women there to protect. And other than that, I think that's typically the main two things that we're really looking for.
Yeah, that's right. We've had people come right from prison with felonies, and that our goal was to try to help them get reestablished into the community. But we definitely are grateful to be able to help as many people as we do, and those that we can't, we're grateful that we have a good partnership and working relationship with Sugar Tree and with Hope House when we are full. It's great that we're all able to work together.
Is there a place for people to stay who have a felony or that's sexual related or violent related?
Not in Wilmington. I mean, I'm not real sure. We always have you had any situations like that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I ended up having to refer them out. I mean, down to an inner city shelter.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there's really not
No
a place in Wilmington for people who it was a sex offender is what the situation was.
Okay.
So I don't think that we have any place that will be able to take them in. So they ended up going to Cincinnati.
Okay, thank you.
Do you find that most of the people that come to the shelter are pretty open about the baggage that they carry with them?
Typically, yes. I mean, we do background checks. We have to be, careful. But a lot of times folks will share things with us even before we do that. We do, just to check and make sure we're keeping everyone safe. But for the most part, we might already know them on some level. And I think the outreach with the donation center and just some of the work Cindy's doing in collaboration with Sugar Tree and Hope House, being able to already know, they feel more comfortable. And I think that trust, to be able to share. It's amazing to see how people will open up and know that they can trust you and that you're there to help. And I think that, we see that a lot, that people are more comfortable because they are familiar with who they're talking to. And to know that our goal is to help in any way we can.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you do as part of your weekly meetings, like the caseworking? I think you mentioned budgeting, assessing mental health, and then addiction treatment as well, or help getting them to addiction treatment. Can you talk about some of those services?
Yes, that's one of the things, when we first sit down, we try within 1 or 2 days, depending on when somebody enters, to make it a priority to sit down and talk about what some of their goals are, kind of get comfortable with us so they can, we can learn how we can help and what referrals we can make and how we can, if they're going to be eligible for permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing. Often we are able to establish if they are already involved with a local mental health provider or if they need a referral for a mental health provider. And that's something we always make a priority because we think that getting that established and getting any medical care that's needed is something that's really important. And then we start with making sure that if they haven't already applied at all of the subsidized housing authorities that they may be eligible for, that's always something we ask that they're completed that first week. And if they're eligible for rapid rehousing, they're referred to Jenny, who is our rapid rehousing coordinator, and she starts the assessment process, and we'll meet with folks to get that going.
And is that part of the coalition, that whole piece of it? Homeless Coalition?
Well, you mean the coordinated entry?
The rapid rehousing and all that stuff is part of like the PDF for the coalition.
Yes.
So is that part of that?
Well, the rapid rehousing is definitely, we were able to expand it because of the coalition and get some more assistance during that COVID time. However, some of the funding has been cut. It's more part of our Region 16, but it's something that the coalition is strongly working on as far as getting more funding and securing more support as far as with needing landlords. We need help with landlords to be able to help people get rapidly rehoused. And there's a committee that's totally dedicated just for the rapid rehousing project that we do.
What does rapid rehousing mean?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. Rapid rehousing helps those who are experiencing homelessness, and they have to show that they are homeless to qualify for the funding.
Mm-hmm.
The funding can help people. During COVID, it was up to 12 months that rapid rehousing could pay rental assistance if the household qualified. We just found out at our December regional meeting that we were only able to assist the first 2 months. The third month, we could assist with 20% of the rent.
So rapid rehousing is that for someone who is currently homeless?
Yes.
And they need to rapidly get into a
yes.
house? Okay.
Yes.
So is it different than like a subsidized housing situation then?
Right.
Okay.
It's different than that. It's more of a short-term assistance. The goal is to keep folks from being homeless at all, but if they are going to be, to make it a very short period of time.
So when they're rapidly rehoused, they can stay at like a subsidized housing place, or they can stay at any place that any landlord, the program just pays that landlord the money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's going to be able to pay a local landlord, or we can help pay even if they have a HUD voucher, if they need help with the first deposit or first month's rent.
Mm-hmm.
They can help towards that.
So how does the state of Ohio or Clinton County define homelessness?
It is if you have no safe place to stay for the night.
There is like some talk about that in the community, because like I remember some people saying like, well, my son lives at home, so is he homeless? Like he doesn't have his own home. Like
my roommate and I were actually talking about this yesterday. My roommate, she is not on our lease. She's actually technically considered a resident of Highland County.
Okay.
And she was like, would I be considered homeless in Clinton County because of that? And I was like, I don't know.
Now, if she has somewhere to stay for the night, she's not considered homeless. But if you were evicting her or telling her she had to leave, then she would be.
That's my plan.
Is that what you're asking the question for?
Jackie, if you're listening, that's not the plan.
Yeah, Denise and Cindy are very nice. Jackie, they'll take you in. Oh my God. Any other thing you guys want to mention about your services before we move on?
Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't. I think that's good.
So I have this document you gave me yesterday with statistics. You guys have that, I guess, too, or
I did bring it. Yes.
so we'll put this on the blog post for the podcast. So if you want to look at this document, you can get it there. But basically, it just goes over 2020, 21, and 22, with just statistics about the men, women, children, single families, and so forth that have stayed at your facility.
Yes.
So it looks like it's been pretty consistent over the past 3 years in most categories, except for total nights in shelter seems to have dramatically increased over the past 3 years.
Yes.
And the meals served has also increased a lot. Can you explain why that happened or what's that about?
That basically, people stayed longer. They ended up staying an average of 70 nights each person instead of the 27 in 2020 and 43 in 2021. And a lot of that was being able to find that housing quick enough and getting people or income. You know, there were a lot of people that came in that didn't have income when they first got there in 2022. But that's mostly why, is because they ended up being there longer than previous 2 years.
So it was harder to find a place to stay and their income wasn't enough to afford a place.
Afford a place.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we discussed that you aren't a soup kitchen, that you don't offer a soup kitchen style serving. When you talk about meals served, is that for the residents of the shelter?
Yes. Yes.
And you serve 3 meals a day?
Yes. We actually, that's one of the chores. A lot of the men's house will prepare breakfast and lunch and dinner. And the women's house does that as well. There's usually one person that's assigned to do the meal for everybody. We also have churches that bring in meals every month. We have quite a few churches that will take an evening meal. We even have a retired professor who, Gloria Flaherty, was a professor at Wilmington College for years, and she still brings meals in on Fridays. And that helps our budget a lot, and it helps folks living there a break from that duty where a home cooked meal would be brought in by family or a local church. It's something we could use more of too. We could always use more meals in the evening or at lunchtime, and we're grateful for that support.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is misconceptions and community criticisms.
Yes.
So I'll have Sydney take a stab at this one first. What are some misconceptions that people have in the community about the homeless shelter, or maybe some criticisms that you could maybe address and talk to?
That we bring in out of county individuals, and we actually stray away from this completely because we have a Clinton County first policy at the homeless shelter. We are solely, well, I wouldn't say solely, but mainly focused on, Clinton County residents. And so, yes, people coming in from out of county staying at the homeless shelter is not true.
That's also a criticism of Sugar Tree Ministries too, and you work there as well. So is that happening at Sugar Tree Ministries in your experience?
No, I think they actually take out more people than they bring people in. So I mean, a lot of the people who go to Sugar Tree will also stop into the donation house. So, I've gotten to know quite a few people, and it's just not true.
Yeah. When I first heard, so I mean, obviously everyone says that it's online and the community people are bringing people in from out of town. And then when I started to hear people saying that that's not true, I'm like, who are these people trying to tell this isn't true? This is obviously true because everyone says it. But getting to hear from people like you who are actually involved with the things, and the mayor and Lee, just people who are actually involved in the situation. Okay, I guess it doesn't happen then. So I don't know where that came from. Maybe just the hatred for people who are homeless, or maybe just the explosion of the problem recently.
I think it's just the lack of information and the lack of putting yourself in the situation. I mean, I can't speak for a homeless person. I just work with them. I've never once in my life been homeless, but I can kind of see what they're going through on the day-to-day. Obviously, I've never had that experience, so I won't speak on it. But getting to know these individuals and hearing their stories has really helped my view, and I'm sure a lot of other people's view who work at the homeless shelter. Yeah. I think one of the girls has been there for 9 years, and anytime I get a call about anybody needing shelter, I immediately run over to her office. Do you know this person? Can you tell me anything about them? Because she has such an engagement in our community. She knows pretty much everybody, it seems like. So I don't know, I just think it's the lack of information.
Mm-hmm. Denise, any other misconceptions out there? criticisms you heard over the past few years that you want to address or talk about?
For the most part, I think we've been, I feel like we've been well accepted in the community. And I've always been so proud to say that we get so much support, and networking with directors and homeless shelter providers in other counties. They keep saying how wonderful it is that we have that much support. We have truly been blessed and supported by so many different organizations and churches that, I don't hear a lot of criticism. I recently did hear someone saying, and I don't know if it was online, I haven't gotten a lot of details. It was at a meeting that we were trying to get people to come in so we could get more money or something. And that's the first negative thing, I don't know where that came from, but I just think sometimes the rumors and things that get started, you don't even know where to go to the source. You don't know where the source is. But that was the first thing that I'd heard negative. But we want to know.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We want to know what's being said so that we can clear up and do our best to explain if there is something that is happening that people don't understand. We want to be able to be the truth and being able to tell the truth and do our best to explain things. And being transparent is so important. So we want people to come to us if they have concerns or questions.
So like Sydney said, I too have never experienced like true homelessness or anything. But when we toured your facility yesterday, I just have to chuckle at people saying that you're bringing more people in, because the way that your facility is set up, you very much do have a specific number of beds because you do adhere to the fire codes and stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of like this idea of what a homeless shelter is in your brain that you see through like media and stuff isn't what's going on in a real homeless shelter. Like, you guys are super involved, it seems, with the fire department, with the police department, with everybody, so that your codes are met and so that everybody has a reasonable amount of space. It's not a stacking thing.
No, thank you. Yes, we like to keep it very home-like atmosphere. We always had all of our rooms checked, the house is checked to make sure it meets code, and we do our best to keep everyone safe, and we're happy when people ask to come and look around, because there's been a lot of hard work that many volunteers and people who have lived at the shelter and have paid it forward. I think I shared that with both of you yesterday. Some of my proudest things to talk about is just the folks that have been there and taught me so many lessons, and just made a big difference and paid it forward.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you obviously have a passion and a love for your work.
Thank you.
We're going to have after this hard section, we're going to talk about some impactful moments like you share about Pastor Looney and stuff. So we'll get into that here in a second. So it's funny that you mentioned that people critique you as far as like you get paid the more people you have there. So we recently posted on Facebook during the snowstorm. It was the 3 homeless shelters in town.
Yeah.
And like, we're not big on Facebook, but like it got a lot of shares. And I was like, that's pretty cool if people shared this post. But then one person commented, I don't know who they were talking about, like whether it was you guys or us, that like they were saying how this group just gets more money from more people that go there. And I'm thinking like, well, Real Change Wilmington isn't even like a business or a group or anything. So we'll get no money from anything. We're just wasting money doing this. But so can you speak about how do you guys get money then? So if it's not that, can you clarify how you guys get funding?
We sure can. We do every 2 years. We apply for a grant from the Emergency Shelter Grant, and it's from the Ohio Development Services Agency. And we request funding. It's always a limited amount that you can request. And for the 21-22 grant period of time, we were able to get $229,000. So that's from January of 21 till December of 23. So we're kind of right in the middle of our grant cycle right now.
What's it based off of?
It's based off of how we're saying what we're saying we can do. It does the information we're providing today. They do look at that, but it's also, they look at numbers of how many people are in the county, or how large our county is, what services we're saying we're going to provide, if we can provide the case management and the ISPs, that we can help people get rapidly housed. And they kind of look at the whole picture. They look at the donation center, things that we're able to help folks with food, and how many employees we have that's going to be able to provide that.
Do they take money away from you if you have so much donations? Like it's
No,
Okay.
no. It's more, it doesn't change. The amount changes or stays pretty much the same every year. We're not an entitlement area, so we're balance of state. So the entitlement areas receive more money because they're larger cities. The balance of state and the smaller areas do not receive as much funding as the entitlement areas.
and you guys also funded by donations too, I assume?
Yes, we also need local fundraisers that we do. The soup fundraiser on March 17th is a way that will go into our funds that will go into the operating expenses. The Board of Realtors every year does a pancake brunch for the shelter, and all of the funds that they do go to the shelter. And they've been doing that in May, and it's all of the realtors get together and serve pancakes and sausage, which is a huge help.
If you have a list of your events and the dates of them, if you send them to us, we can put them on the website.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because we're so famous. You know, people will definitely find the events.
Thank
Local
you.
celebrities.
You guys are awesome. I've been watching you.
Okay, well, probably the only people that watch us then. So
I'm gonna
thank you.
keep-
Our biggest fans.
That's right.
People, it's funny. So people online have been calling Emily the podcast girl, and yesterday one of the councilmen addressed us at Coffee House as the Notorious too. So
There you go.
we're getting nicknames, which is fun.
That's great. I love Coffee House. Their coffee's amazing.
Yes. Emily's dying inside because she had an experience this morning. But
My bank locked my bank account, and I couldn't tell. But thankfully, the staff at the Coffee House, they took care of me.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm gonna go in there and pay them back.
They're the best. They are.
what were we just talking about?
Funny.
Funding. So how much of your funding is grant versus donations, or do you have that percentage?
Oh yeah. So for like our grants for the budget for 2023, we have $237,000 for the calendar year budgeted from the grants, and for like our donations and local donations and support, $86,200.
That's how much you have like estimated in donations that are coming in this year.
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be like from individuals and churches.
Mm-hmm. Is this something that you want to put on to show people? Or no? People want to
So,
look at it.
correct me if I'm wrong, but previous years should be available, correct? Because the
Yes.
shelter is a nonprofit organization, so all that
Absolutely.
information
Yeah.
is okay.
Yes.
On your
Yes,
website, I
on
assume.
it's definitely on the Attorney General's website. Yes.
Okay. So you don't get money for bringing more people in the town. So you squash that rumor. All right. So now I'm going to ask this question to you.
Okay.
So I guess in my mind, the homeless shelter is kind of like downstream of the problems. The problem would be like you lost a job, like you have mental illness, you have addiction problem, and then downstream they end up your homeless shelter. So what are some things that you guys are doing upstream to solve these problems of that cause people to become homeless, or are you doing anything?
Well, I mean, we do get a lot of phone calls asking for rental assistance and utility assistance, with the funds being the way that they are. Unfortunately, sometimes we can't necessarily help out with those monetary problems, but I can refer them to other resources. So I don't necessarily always refer people to other homeless shelters. I could refer them to Clinton County Community Action or whatever county they're in to help, just to connect them and to get them to that resource. I'm kind of like that middleman sometimes, or playing phone tag with Community Action and this individual, just trying to get them connected. I mean, it could be numerous things. I mean, mental health, drug addiction, trying to get them into treatment. Of course, all of that stuff is voluntary, so sometimes the only thing that I can do is give them their name and number. But I mean, that's pretty much where we play in that role of prevention. But
So someone calls in, they have an issue, and you try to solve that issue before they become homeless,
yes,
by connecting them to the resources that are available.
correct. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people in Clinton County don't realize how many resources we actually have. I mean, I didn't know until I started working, and I mean, I have packets of papers with churches, organizations, businesses all throughout Clinton County that are willing to help and have the resources.
Do you find that the people who call you didn't know about those resources either before they contacted you? So like they also didn't know, and then you're able to enlighten them on what's available.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Next question. What are some areas that you guys see as things you can improve upon, if anything? So you mentioned that you would like to have a meal, but is there anything else that you think would be good to have? Or
Sure. I think there's always areas of improvement. And one of the things that we do that we're going to get more meetings more often, we do what we call an advisory committee. And so once every quarter, the chair of the advisory committee meets with current residents that agree to participate and be on the committee, other staff members that might be willing to join, and they talk about what are the areas you'd like to see improvements at the shelter. Because I think the first place we need to look is those who are living there. How do you want us to make, where's the improvements needed? Because they're experiencing 24 hours a day, sometimes for quite a few days. And we want to know from them, what area can we make improvements to make it better for you? That's one of the questions that we ask folks. We like to ask their opinion on how can we make it more enjoyable? What things can we offer that would make your household be more successful? What are we doing now that's helpful, and what can we do to make it better? That committee raises money separately from the shelter's funds so that they can purchase IDs. They can go get driver's license. If they don't have a state ID, they can get that. If they need black pants and slip-resistant shoes to go to work, or boots, steel-toed boots, the committee approves for them to get those items, and we pay for those items for the folks that are living there at the shelter. We've had yard sales to raise money for that advisory committee.
so who is this advisory group made of again? Is it made of people in the house?
Yes, it's made up of staff members,
Okay.
and Darlene is the chair, and Jenny helps Darlene with that, and then Darlene will ask another staff member to participate, and minimally each quarter they meet and they ask residents who have recently moved out or moved out within the last year, they ask them to join the committee, and then at least one man from the man's house and one female from the women's house to join. And their input is so important. We've learned many things from things they've shared. Just, sometimes just how we can keep the morale up for folks, because if they're living in a family-like setting, if one person's having a bad day, it's like even when you go home, if you're having a bad day, sometimes it rubs off on your family members. And there's also that support. We've seen people create such close friendships from living there at the same time that have lasted for years. And so I think finding out from folks that are living there as a family, and many times they are telling secrets or things to each other and helping one another along the way that they never would have thought they would meet someone that's close. So I think we see and learn so much from folk. Yeah, and we have seen where, it could be anywhere from, we want the wake-up call to be, instead of 5:30, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. We've seen a lot of different suggestions that we have taken to heart. We have made the changes, and we've seen.
So what are a few examples besides the changing the wake up time, like that
we had someone ask about doing like a group, something fun for folks where it wasn't just these rules and having to look for a job and having to do a budget. And this was pre-COVID, and it was, they wanted to do something fun where they could get their mind off of all of the responsibilities. And so we started having movie nights, and we even had someone bring popcorn in, and we had movies. And then in the summertime, we were able to get the Clinton County Swim Club to let everyone come and have like a swim night. And this has been a few years ago, but things like that really people were able to work together as a group and have fun.
That's
just
awesome.
Have fun and get their mind off of all of the other stuff.
Yeah. That's cool that you have the system in place to like make improvements like that already. That's great.
Thank you. And we're always looking for help on that committee. We're always looking for ideas. I think Sydney's pretty new. I think we're going to be asking her to join. But we can always use any input. We're open to folks that aren't working at the shelter and aren't living there to join us. I think outside input would be just as important.
How can people join that committee or ask to join that committee?
Give us a call. Give
Okay.
me a call or
Mhm.
give Cindy or Darlene and let us know.
Okay.
We would really appreciate that because maybe they have ideas of how to have some activities for the kids and the adults that would really change some lives.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. It's definitely like, I know for me, like when I'm going through a hard time, like having things that keep my morale up to get through, is super important. So that's awesome. You guys do things like that.
Definitely. It's a big help.
All right. So last question, I'll ask both of you. I'll Sydney first. So you haven't been at the shelter as long as Denise. What's a story that's been impactful to you or something that stood out?
I think in my short time, just a couple of the success stories where I've seen somebody in a absolutely horrible situation, living on the street, drug addiction, the whole nine, and then come out of that, have a place to live, now is working. Just seeing that over and over again. I know it's sometimes few and far between, but those 1 out of the 10 who do it, or I don't know what the actual statistic is on it, but I mean, it really is enlightening and it's inspiring, and yeah, I love it. I really do.
It's awesome. And Denise, I know you shared a lot of stories when we took a tour with you.
Yeah.
People that have been impactful. Can you share maybe 1 or 2 of those stories with us? So who has helped the shelter over the years and make it what it is?
Oh, sure. Well, we've had so many people over the years that has just hugely made a difference, and including folks living there that have lived there that have just turned things around. And there is on our Facebook page, there is a video called Pay It Forward, Pat. And one of our board members worked at Technicolor when this video was done, and she did an amazing job. Sharon Benning and her team put it together. But Pat had came to the shelter to live. Clinton Memorial Hospital had called us. This has been many, many years ago, probably back in 2008 or 9, and told us that they had a gentleman that was traveling through and it was like some major stomach problems that he had the major surgery for. And they had needed to release him, but he couldn't travel, couldn't continue, to his destination, and needed to recuperate and heal before he could. So he came to the shelter and immediately within a few days started getting up and doing chores that other people might not be doing, or doing things throughout the house. And he was able to get on his feet. He decided to stay in the area, and got his income going on. I forget exactly what source of income he had. I think he worked a small job for a while, and then he had some disability due to the major health issues that he had. And he continued to volunteer his time. And we're talking, he might as well have been working a full-time job, because he would be there 8 hours a day, picking up food from Walmart for the Feed America, the Cincinnati Food Bank, and Feed America collaborate with Walmart. And he was the volunteer who would go get the food and distribute it, to the shelter and local churches. And he did this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for many years. And then he would repair electrical, come and make repairs for our plumbing and electrical, anything we needed done, he was able to do, and saved us thousands of dollars on repair work. And he would bring us cakes on birthdays and home cooked meals for the staff and those living at the shelter. And so he became a close friend instantly, and we miss him. We lost Pat a few years ago, but the donation center food pantry is named after Pat, the Pat Dugan Food Pantry, and he Pat made a big difference.
Yeah. You mentioned there's another story of a man who raised the roof on your building.
Yes,
Different
yes,
guy, right?
Yes, Tom Maturka.
Okay.
Tom Maturka is a retired orthopedic surgeon in Clinton County, and he and his wife Janet Gick Maturka came to the shelter Christmas Day of 2001 to serve Christmas dinner for those living there. And their son, Mark Maturka, had already been volunteering prior to that, where he would come and help do all kinds of projects. And he was 16 or 17 when he was doing that his parents started, I think Mark was at college or away, and they came to spend Christmas and sent me home that day. And then about a week later, Tom called and said, hey, might be a few projects you might need help with around there. You could see many of the projects. And it was like an answered prayer because there were so many things that needed done. And he showed up like, I think 2 weeks after Christmas. And one of the bigger projects that he did started there at the 36 Gallup house, where he literally raised the roof so that we could make more rooms for the families and that you didn't have to go through a 24-inch wide door. It wasn't a very wide door.
And you still have that door in your office, and it's like half the size of a normal door.
Yes.
It's like, how does anyone get through that?
Yes, it was not easy. There were a lot of times I would just holler up and say, I can't get through right now.
It's like Alice in Wonderland. You like crawl under the door, hope it's bigger or something.
Yes, that's what you felt like.
You just have the little basket at the outside, the eat me, drink me's.
Yeah, exactly. It made such a huge difference. And by isolating all the rooms, the hallway, we were able to add closet space in the main central hallway upstairs so everyone can have their own closet with a key and keep their belongings locked up. It just made a huge difference. That was a major project. We had friends that came out from Habitat for Humanity that helped as well. And a lot of the folks that were the guys and even women living right there at the time were right in there helping to do many things that takes talent and skill. There was drywallers that were there that helped do that, some awesome painters, and it really does take a whole community to keep an organization like the Clinton County Homeless Shelter in operations. And when you have someone like Tom Maturka and the Maturka family guiding that way, it's just amazing to see the folks that will come together.
You also mentioned the impacts of Pastor Looney at the Church of God. Can you tell people what her involvement was with the homeless shelter?
Yes, Pastor Looney. Her amazing prayers for the shelter, and her love for helping people, because her heart, there's just never been a better heart. And, she literally had a direct line to Jesus. And when she prayed for you, you could feel her prayers. And she had such a love for the homeless shelter and a love for people, all people. And she knew that we were really needing more space back when the men's annex. And she said she was driving by and saw the sign for sale. And it's the house that is immediately adjacent to the women and children's house. And she said that, well, how would you like that house? And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way we could ever get it, and I wasn't thinking that she was thinking she could make it happen. I just was thinking, I don't know how. I said, well, we do need more space. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a call that the house is ours. And that it just started there because she just kept going and she just kept giving. And so many people with her leadership just kept blessing us and helping. There were many of the church members that came out to do the work that needed done on the house. Tom agreed to do the total renovations, and family of Pastor Looney and her church congregation came out. Timber Tech helped with the decking. We had a group who did landscaping, and it was just a community effort to make it ready for single men to live there.
That's awesome. I didn't realize how many people and businesses got involved to help. That's really cool.
It was just amazing to see it all come together. It's really a good thing.
So we're going to end. Unless you have anything else you want to add before we...
I want to thank both of you for inviting us. I want to thank Sydney for coming along and for all she's doing. She's amazing. We're really happy to have Sydney with us, and we're working on getting her IT. We do have some technical problems. One of the things I'd like to ask, we are needing some help getting our technical issues up and going. So if anyone knows any good services out there to let us know, we'd like to get some quotes to see how we can get moving.
Okay. So what are some ways people can get involved if they want to help out? I saw on the packet there's options for people to go to Kroger and opt into, I guess, give a percentage of their, or how does the Kroger program work?
Yes, if they can add that onto like their card,
Mm-hmm.
their account number, that they want a percentage of the funds that they spend at the Krogering to go to the shelter, then we do get a check.
So they're not paying extra money at Kroger. It's just Kroger has decided to. That sounds awesome. Everyone should be doing that then, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you have a similar thing with Amazon?
Yes, similar thing with Amazon. If you just add that you want the Clinton County Homeless Shelter, they will donate a percentage of funds from Amazon that comes from Amazon.
So it's no extra cost to people when they check out.
No extra cost.
That's awesome. And then if they want to donate time, money, resources, how would they do that?
They can contact us at the Clinton County Homeless Shelter at 937-382-7058. And we would really appreciate volunteers, and we appreciate all the donations for sure.
Awesome. Well, Denise and Sydney, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for our episode today. Thank you so much for listening. Emily wants to share a few details about how to register.
Register. I'm telling you, you gotta make a blooper reel for like.
I think I might keep that one in.
Register.
Emily is going to share how to register for the Kroger rewards and Amazon too.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, Kroger offers this thing called the Kroger Community Rewards Program. It's linked to your Kroger Plus card. So if you have the Kroger app, which you should totally get because there are tons of great coupons on there. Not a sponsor, just really love Kroger.
Yeah, Emily is a discount-aholic or whatever they call it.
Shopaholic, but with discounts.
Yes.
Stream couponing. Anyway, if you go to your Kroger Plus card,
The app, right?
yeah, on the app, and you can look under the three little lines at the top of the app. There's this thing called rewards where it says view your meal points and other rewards. And if you go to their community rewards section and type in Clinton County Services for the Homeless, and you might have to do a little bit of scrolling, but it's right there. You just select that and add it to your Plus card. It's no additional cost to you, but a portion of your bill every time you use your Plus card for gas or for groceries at Kroger. Part of that goes to the homeless shelter for donation. And it's the same thing with Amazon. You can get on your Amazon account and look up Clinton County Services for the Homeless under the Amazon Smile program and register your account to them. And every time you purchase on Amazon, 0.5% of your purchase will go to them. So if you're an Amazonaholic, like some people.
Looking at me?
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Oh yeah, I am. I do. I have totally bought into the beast. So. Yeah, so other news for Real Change Wilmington, we had a post blow up last week in a good way. Emily, you want to talk about that?
So if you're not following us on social media, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We shared a post last week because of all the cold and inclement weather, linking people to the homeless shelter, Hope House, and Sugar Tree for warming shelters, emergency shelters. And it looks like to date, we have had 148 shares on that, which is absolutely insane because that's almost our entire following on Facebook.
Yeah, we went from like 90 followers to 150-ish, or almost 150 now.
Yeah.
In like 1 week from that post. So we definitely want to continue to post things that are helpful, different categories like homelessness or housing or jobs or whatever. All the resources they have on our website, we're going to continue to post those things on our social media too to just help people. With that, also our app has been finally released. I've been preaching about it for the past 7 episodes, and it's finally released. So if you go to the website, you'll see a pop-up to download the app on both Apple and Android. And all the resources that are on the website are on the app as well. So just a more convenient way to access those things. And also we added a news section to the website. So we're posting articles. We're doing more than just the podcast. We're interviewing local businesses and organizations, see what they do, and writing things about them. So with that, I'm Dustin Pierce.
I'm Emily Spencer.
Keep it real, Wilmington.